the election's fairness. Well, viewers, those are the headlines and our key focus. Sudan and what's taking place over there. The ongoing civil war in Sudan has intensified as the paramilitary rapid support forces shift their focus eastward after strengthening control over Darfur. The RSF has launched drone strikes and moved into the Kordofan region, an area between Darfur and Sudan's eastern states. Reports of violence continue with new arms shipments and troop mobilizations, heightening fears of further conflict. Survivors from the town of Bara in North Kordofan has described the brutal revenge attacks by RSF fighters, including summary executions of those accused of supporting the Sudanese army. The RSF has rejected a ceasefire proposed by the United States, which is now further deepening the crisis. Humanitarian aid remains blocked as both sides prepare for more violence, with famine and mass displacement worsening the dire humanitarian crisis. With us on the broadcast is Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, former Indian diplomat, joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. We've been discussing Sudan day after day, but fresh reports are coming in from the United Nations that the number of refugees who are fleeing Al-Fashar is continuing to increase. The last number we tracked was 35,000. Now, a week later, it stands at a staggering 90,000. In the midst of all of this, there seems to be that the violence will not abate anytime soon. In your assessment, with the RSF now pushing further east, is there a threat to Kordofan, a real threat, and how can the Sudanese army then counter this?
Thank you for having me. It's becoming sadly a routine to talk about Sudan, and you're right in giving it top priority on Africa. The crisis in Sudan deserves that kind of treatment. I should say that after Darfur falling to RSF late last month, the events have unfolded in a dramatic way there as well as elsewhere in Sudan. In Darfur, reported mass killings by the RSF cadres have led to refugees fleeing. First, they were held back by RSF cadres who had dug a moat around the town to prevent people from going, but now that seems to have been lifted and people are relatively freer to go. So the numbers have been rising, as you have mentioned, and they may rise even further because according to some accounts, nearly 1 million people, residents and refugees from other parts of northern Darfur were resident there when the town fell. So the numbers that you quote, 90,000, is not doesn't speak the full story. Others may be trying to go because the hopelessness of situation there. Second issue that has boiled out of Darfur's Al-Fashir victory of RSF is that the momentum now is being utilized by RSF in other parts of the area it controls or wishes to control. That includes Kordofan region, where it has an alliance with the local leaders against the SAF. Kordofan is not only a bridge between Darfur and Khartoum,
Yes,
but it's also rich in gold and perhaps oil, bordering on South Sudan. It's also easy to be supplied through South Sudan with arms and other requirements to RSF. So there, the holdout town, Para, which is occupied by SAF only 2 months ago, much to the celebration of locals, is again under siege after the momentum of Al-Fashir. Maybe the troops from RSF have been redeployed to Bara, and situation there is likely to repeat the same old story of Al-Fashir, where after 500 days, the SAF eventually had to withdraw under siege. So if Bara also gets the same end, the road to Khartoum from Darfur gets cleared. That was the one major obstacle in RSF's reconquest of the central Sudan, including Khartoum. So, despite agreement by RSF about ceasefire by Quad countries and its non-response by SAF, the fighting is likely to continue and may even get more vicious.
Indeed, indeed. So requesting you to stay on with us. I've of course spoken of the data, and on that note, we're getting fresh reports that the Sudanese army has reported that the rapid support forces in fact launched drone strikes targeting the northern town of Merowe, which has the Merowe Dam. The army stated that it intercepted the attacks, but the strikes did cause a power cut, plunging the town into darkness. Merowe has been under the Sudanese army control for months, and the RSF has increasingly used drones in recent months in order to target this particular city. This violence, of course, comes amidst the war escalating and protracting in the Kordofan region as well. Thousands have been killed and nearly 12 million people have been displaced. As I said earlier, UN reports indicate that 90,000 civilians have fled El Fasher in Darfur, as atrocities including sexual assaults have been widespread as well. Meanwhile, there have been calls by international bodies for action to cut off weapons supplies to the RSF, which continue to grow. Still with us is Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev. What's interesting is that we're seeing whatever is playing out on the ground not happen in isolation. There's of course a tacit backing given to the RSF by the United Arab Emirates on one hand. You're seeing the Egyptians, the Qataris, the Turkish on the other hand backing the Sudanese army. So the Middle East, Gulf states, they have their own considerations, but when it comes to the armament that is being given to the Sudanese army, I beg your pardon, the RSF in particular by the UAE, what sort of interest does the UAE have in all of this? A lot of people have been discussing the vast swathes of agricultural land, the fact that a lot of UAE-based agro-processing companies are, they have their interests in Sudan in particular as well. The oil, the natural gas that is present over there, the rich gold reserves as well.
You're right, nailed it, but let me be slightly more specific. UAE is a desert country and it prizes the autonomy on food stuff. It is therefore trying to acquire tracts of land abroad to grow those crops, and the proceeds then come to UAE's companies. This is already happening in Ethiopia and Kenya, I think. And now Sudan, being a breadbasket of the Arab world in earlier times, is now being subject to the same treatment. Secondly, UAE has a abiding and growing interest in controlling the strategic area in the Gulf region where Houthis, etc., operate. It has taken control of Socotra Island from Yemen. It has also acquired base in Djibouti, and it's eyeing the coastline along the Red Sea of Sudan, where it would like to have its own arrangements for civilian as well as maritime and military bases. Teaching world of Dubai is very active in that area. Somalia also is a candidate for UAE's territorial acquisition along the coast. So that is another part. Of course, one should say that SAF that controls the Red Sea coastline at the moment is unwilling to do anything about it because they don't like UAE supporting RSF. Thirdly, in RSF controlled areas of Darfur, there's plenty of gold mining.
Yes.
And all that gold is reportedly transmitted or transferred to Dubai, where they are refineries, and it is monetized in a legal manner. Then again, oil you have mentioned, Kordofan and South Sudan are rich in oil, but then evacuating them depends on a pipeline to Port Sudan, which is not under RSF control. So they are then using RSF, supporting RSF to ensure that their interests in these areas are met. On geological basis, RSF has persuaded UAE authorities that Sudanese government under SAF is in tacit alliance with the Islamists of Sudan. Islam has a very strong presence in Sudan as a political force, with Mahdi rule being there during pre-British times, etc. And they've been part of the political landscape, and SAF has co-opted them, and that is something that UAE does not like, because UAE is dead set against political Islam anywhere in the Muslim world. So that too sets UAE at a collision course with SAF. Thank you.
Indeed, of course, Ambassador Sachdev has highlighted some very crucial points to also look at the countries that are bordering Sudan, one of them being Chad. Interestingly, there was a meeting held between UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan as well as the President of the Republic of Chad, Mahamat Idris Deby Itno. Chad is, of course, located to the west of Sudan. It borders, in fact, the Darfur province, and that's of course a route that many analysts say is through where the weaponry is in fact transferred to the RSF militias. With that, I'd like to thank you, Ambassador Sachdev, for taking out time and explaining that in a very comprehensive manner for all of our viewers. On that note, we're shifting focus to news coming in from South Africa. We're learning that South African authorities